Good afternoon. This is At Home Learning, May 11th through May 15th, Session 3, Multiplying 2 by 2 Polynomials. This is the first way I'm going to show you how to do it. The next two videos will be doing the same thing, but in different ways. Your Session 3s have been working with monomials and polynomials. Some points to remember is that x plus x is 2x, but x times x is x squared. We're going to combine adding, subtracting, and multiplying all in one problem. So the first one of the Session 3s was adding monomials and terms, combining like terms. The second one was subtracting terms, and now we're going to learn how to multiply. Oh, you learned how to multiply a term by a term. Now you're going to do what's called a 2 by 2. So we're going to start with what you know. In lower grade, your teachers taught you to write this vertically, where it was 42 times 13. And we're going to follow the same algorithm. And the algorithm basically says you do 3 times 2 and write it down. And then you take 3 times 4 and you write it down. And then you have a placeholder 0. And then you take and do 1 times 2 and write it down, 1 times 4 and write it down, and then you add, and it would be 6 and 4 and 5. So I'm going to apply that and I'm going to call this method 1. There are 3 different methods. You can pick whichever method you want to use. They all will result in the correct answer when done correctly. So now we're going to use we're going to multiply a 2 by 2, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write x plus 4 and x plus 1, and I am basically going to follow the same algorithm. I'm going to do 1 times a positive 1 times a positive 4 is a positive 4. Then I'm taking a positive 1 times an x, and I'm going to have an x. I'm going to then put a placeholder 0. I always do plus 0. I know 0 has no sign. I do use a positive 0. Then I'm going to do x times 4, which is 4x, because there's a 1 coefficient for that x. And then I'm going to do x times x, which is going to be x squared. And then I'm going to add it up. And my final answer will be plus 4 when I do plus 4 and add a 0. And then 1x and 4x is positive 5x. And then this is x squared. This whole video I'm going to go through the same method over and over. Okay, so I'm going to write it x plus 5 times 3x plus 7. I'm going to take and go positive 7 times positive 5, which is positive 35. Positive 7 times x, which is 7x. I'm going to take my placeholder 0. Going to do 3x times 5, which is positive 15x. I'm going to do 3x times x, which is 3x squared. Just like when I multiply, I'm going to add them now. Positive 35 and positive 0 is positive 35. Positive 7x and positive 15x is positive 22x. And 3x squared just comes down, and that's your final answer. Watch out for signs, and you know the rules of adding and multiplying with negatives. This takes a bit of getting used to because your brain's going to do the same things. Adding negatives gives you more negatives. Multiplying 2 negatives gives you a positive. So we're going to do x minus 5 times x minus 2. And when I do a negative 2 times a negative 5, I get a positive 10. When I do a negative 2 times an x, I get a negative 2x. I put my placeholder 0 down. I do a x times a negative 5, which is negative 5x. X times x, which is x squared. When I add them together, I get Positive 10 and 0 is positive 10. Ooh, that's a lousy color. Let me change it. A positive 10, much better. Negative 2x and a negative 5x, when adding them, that's a negative 7x, and that is x squared. The next one, I'm going to have x plus 4 times 2x minus 1. I'm going to do a negative 1 times a positive 4, which is a negative 4. A negative 1 times an x is a negative x. I'm going to put my placeholder of plus 0. 2x times 4 is positive 8x. 2x times x is 2x squared. When I add those, a negative 4 and a 0 is a negative 4. A negative x and a positive 8x is a positive 7x. And then the 2x squared comes down. Sometimes terms will disappear. These types of problems are called a difference of two squares. The middle term will always disappear when the variable is the same and the numbers will have a positive and a negative. Notice it's x minus 7 and x plus 7. So I'm going to write it just like I have been. X minus 7, x, didn't do that correctly. X minus 7, x plus 7. It actually doesn't matter which one goes on top. So then you're doing a positive 7 times a negative 7, which is a negative 49. A positive 7 times x is 7x. Then you're going to put your placeholder 0. You're going to x times negative 7 is negative 7x. X times x, which is x squared. When you add these together, it becomes negative 49. Notice these cancel out, and the x squared, so it's x squared minus 49. This is one method to do multiplying a 2 by 2 polynomial.